Aw, look at Mercedes, daydreaming on the lobby. That is so cute. Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to show you how to build Celestial Mercedes. Now one of you requested her, and I was thinking, why not? I mean, look at her. How can you say no to that? Now Meru is really good in most PvE content, someone you can bring to hunt stages as well as raid. She's also good in all PvP content, World Arena, Guild War, and the Standard Arena, as a reliable cleaver. However, because she is an MO unit, she's not readily available for everyone, especially those who are in early to mid game. Now if you are lucky enough to get her as your first MO unit, she can help you clear story mode as well as climb up arena. And with that, let's have a look at her skills, gears, and artifacts she can use. Now Meru's first skill, Divine Bolt, has a 30% chance to inflict unhealable debuffs for 2 turns. Very nice to have. There are certain PvE content where you want to deny healing, like the Golem from Golem Hunt, a few Abyss runs, I can't remember which ones, and the Earth Spirit Altar. Now 30% chance is pretty small, but note that this is her normal attack, and one lucky hit can make your runs faster. Skill Enhance up to +4 increases the chances to 50%, but you are trading 5 molas, and in my opinion, if you really want to invest on her, I would do this last. Even if you are doing it for more damage, still, do it last. This is because her other skills brings much more to her kit compared to this one. Now Meru's second skill, Dimensional Rupture, is an AoE skill dealing more damage equal to 4% of the target's max HP. 4% is not a lot, but against high HP enemies, bosses, this will do quite a lot of damage. And also you want that extra damage as well, since that could be the difference between a 1-minute run to a 2-minute run. If we are looking at hunt stages, that 4% extra damage could be enough to wipe out the mobs, especially on the first wave. Now outside of that, it doesn't really have that big of an impact. In PvP, for example, this is mostly used as a cleanup skill. Most of the time, you'll be using this on her second turn. Now fully maxing this skill will give her 40% extra damage. Very nice if she is one of your go-to AoE units. Now I highly suggest you max this skill. Maybe not the first one to max, but something you want to max later on. Now her skill enhance will not give her any turn decrease, so it will always be at 4 turns. What this means is that in a PvP environment, most likely you only get to use this once before you either win the match or she dies. But in a PvE environment, if you got the souls, you'll be able to use this more frequently, and you'll see that once we get to her skill 3. The great thing about cleave units is that a majority of them can attack twice. So you got Vildred S3 plus S2, Vivian S2 spam, BBK S3 plus S1. Now Meru has this as well, but she's not really attacking twice, just close to attacking twice. But compared to the units I said before, she doesn't need a kill condition, which is great, because sometimes on certain matchups, there's always that thought in the back of your mind thinking if you have enough damage to trigger the next attack or not. Because if they don't meet the condition, most likely you will lose the match. With Meru's third skill, it hits all enemies, gives her an attack buff, and the best part, increased CR by 20%, equal to the number of critical hits made. It doesn't give her an extra turn, but there is no condition. So it's like saying, you don't have to worry about anything. Just use your skill, but you don't get an extra turn. Close, but not exactly. Now there is an artifact that will give her an extra turn, so using her as a primary cleaver is possible. Now usually with Vildred and BBK, you can solve this problem by using CDOM. CDOM will soften a target to make it easier, but for those who don't have her, Meru is an alternative. Not only that, she acts like a secondary cleaver. Problem is, she doesn't have the CR boost that CDOM has. Whether you need it or not entirely depends on your team composition. So to some of you it may work, while to others it may not. Unfortunately, Meru doesn't have a soul effect that increases her AoE damage. The soul burn effect on this skill reduces the cooldown of all her skills by 2 turns, including this one. In a PvP environment, you don't want to use this. PvE, however, this is something you might want to consider, especially those runs where the boss summons mobs every now and then. Now this skill is on a 6-turn cooldown, very long, but you can decrease it by 1 at +3 skill enhance. But if I were you, I'd go all the way to +5 and get that extra 40% more damage. Now this skill hits hard and is the first thing you want to use in a PvP fight. After that, you can follow it up using her S2 with the attack buff that she got from her S3. Most of the time, especially if they have defense break, they are gone. They're gone. Alright, so for gears, if you have a cleaver unit already geared up, it's pretty much the same. You can have attack set gears paired up with crit set, or destruction and crit set. Speed set is also good for Meru, but this is more as a result of you farming the shit out of Wyvern and not giving a cent on the other hunts. So if that's you, it's completely fine. Now main stat for ring should always be attack set, but for necklace and boots, well, it really depends on the build. Substats should be more focused on attack percentage, crit chance and crit damage, with speed, health and defense as secondary substats. Now defense is okay on her because she's a mage, and mage classes typically have high base defense, so this will scale pretty well. However, mages do have very low HP stat, but this doesn't mean you shouldn't give her HP percentage. If your gear happens to have HP percentage as a substat, then give it to her. As I said before, main stat on necklace and boots is entirely dependent on build. For example, a necklace with crit chance as a main stat is good when you are not using crit set. Maybe you are using a broken set for some reason, or the substat from your other gears have low crit chance. Now crit chance is very important for Meru because her S3 boosts her CR 20% for each critical hit that she makes. If you want her to get the next turn ASAP to use her second AoE, then she needs very high crit chance. I'd say almost as important as Shuri, if you have him. Now if you have enough crit chance to the point where you don't need to use crit set, then you can swap to a immunity set. In case someone like Fallen Cecilia counters and provokes you, or if the enemy DZ is faster. Now a necklace with a main stat of crit damage is good, and this is something you should be working towards as an endgame gear, when the rest of her gears do give decent crit chance, as well as if you are using a crit set. If you awaken Meru 5 times, in total this will give her 12% more crit chance, so this makes it a bit easier when you gear her. Also, if your team gives crit chance either from a crit buff or a devotion skill, you can cut down her crit chance by a significant amount and focus her stats on more crit damage, attack percentage, or HP. Meru's own devotion skill, when you use Ego Fragment, gives her more crit chance from 4.2% to 14.7%. However, you cannot use regular Meru as an imprint because she's a main storyline character, so if that thought ever crossed your mind, it doesn't work. Now, with boots, go for either attack percentage or speed. Speed is mostly used for PvE contents, as in Abyss and Raid, but in a PvP environment, this is good when, and by the way, this is just one example, when you have a CR pusher, except lots, but you don't have any defensive buffs to keep her alive, such as defense buff, revive, or even invincibility buff. If you give her speed, she would be fast enough to the point that if she gets boosted by your CR pusher, her CR should be smack bang at 100%. And with this, she should be able to nuke out the enemy twice if you're really lucky. Now, attack percentage on boots is good if you can guarantee that she won't die before she gets her turn. So for example, revives, invincibility, A-Lot's push, dual CR manipulation like Basar and Tywin, Basar and Lilius, or Seedom and Tywin combos. Those composition works well if you're using attack percentage. Now, if you're in mid-game and drops are so bad, 3 crit sets are a good start. Definitely usable, especially in PvE content. Now I can't say the same for PvP though, haven't tried it. Maybe you can try it if you have it, and you can let me know if it did work for you. Now with artifacts, the only 5-star artifact you want to use, in my opinion, is Necro and Undine. You can only get this from the Guilty Gear collab as of now. It might change in the future, who knows? But for now, that's the only way you can get this artifact. If you have this, very nice. If you have this maxed, even better. Because what this artifact does is give Meru 10 to 20% more CR when she uses any of her AoE skills. From what we know about her 3rd skill, if she lands 4 crits, that's 80% CR boost, plus 20% from this artifact. Well. Now this is really good if you don't want the enemy to get a single turn when you do your cleave. This is also good if Meru's gears are already complete, because if not, then you'd rather use artifacts that bumps up her damage. In PvE, you don't really need to use this. This artifact is more towards PvP. Now for 4-star artifacts, I'd go for either Kaladra or Tagahel. Kaladra is good if you have a unit in your team that can inflict debuffs, like Dizzy. It's best if you use AoE defense breakers though, that way you deal more damage both from the defense break and this artifact. Now for this to work, right, your debuffer needs to have a good amount of effectiveness to land those debuffs, because without that, this artifact is pretty much useless. Also great to use if your Meru doesn't have enough punch to her damage, and it's something you can use for PvE content. However, if you think the enemy is using immunity set, then I'd avoid using this unless you have a Dispel unit in your team. The other one is Tagahel. This is more towards if your Meru is a secondary cleaver, or if she's the only mage in your team and you need a Tagahel user, or both. Either way, the souls aren't meant for her, rather it's for another unit in your team such as Tywin or Jaekise. And yeah, this is something that depends on your composition, and I'd only give it to her if you don't have any other choice. If you want more damage, but your debuffers aren't doing their job, then yeah, I'm looking at you, Tywin.
Never miss!
Then Portrait of the Saviors is good to use. 10 to 20% more damage is always great to have. Now for 3-star artifacts, Tonfa is great, same reason as Portrait, used in both PvE and PvP, and Joker for PvE contents, especially for hunt stages. So, Meru is one of those units with many uses, of course being an MO unit that has no elemental disadvantages. That already says a lot. I've seen people use her in all Hunt 11 stages. It works great in cleave teams. You can have her as a primary cleaver or a secondary cleaver. She fits both roles. However, she's very squishy, so don't expect her to live long in your PvP matchups. But it's okay, since she only needs to use S3 plus S2. After that, she has no use, pretty much. And yeah, other than that, she has huge melons and makes you question whether she's wearing. Alright, I should stop talking now. That's all I have for MO Meru. Thanks for watching. Use this as a reference for your own build, your own MO Meru. How you use yours might be slightly different to how I use mine, so keep that in mind. And with that, I'll see you in another video.